All right, family. We live once again with the general. You already know what it is. We got this powerful presentation we about to drop on your head right now. Supreme commentary about, what's going on overseas. We got to talk about that because that's affecting us right now. I know your gas bill and everything else, even getting back and forth to work, is going up. I looked over the goddamn gas about almost $4. For some people, it's already over $4. I'm quite sure you get into California and over that area, man, it probably $5 a gallon. And so it affects us even when you don't think it affects you. It affects you because there's a lot of stuff that, the trucks and, just moving in products from one state to the other. It costs, the diesel as it went up. So even to move products from one area to the next, the price is going to go up on everything. And so, now this is a very powerful concept that we talking about today. This is a quote that comes from Napoleon, one of the great pillagers, one of the great pillagers of all time. Napoleon. Some say he's the greatest European military general of all time. Napoleon. You see? And so he says never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. You see? Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Nah, a lot of people interpret that because people say, well, where is NATO? You see, where's NATO? NATO didn't want to support the United States of America, even though America is supporting Ukraine. And Ukraine is not even and so they say because you have to be attacked. If you're not attacked and and there's no threat of you being attacked and you go attack somebody, that's not the same. This is what NATO is saying. And so they saying that the United States started the war and they were not under threat of being attacked. But is this strategy of never interrupting your enemy, and it doesn't appear that the United States is the enemy of NATO unless they want a piece of what the United States possess. A lot of times, they be eyeing your spot. And so they'll let you make the mistake so they can come in after you. You know what I'm saying? And they can go in there and negotiate with Iran, negotiate with the Arab states, and take the United States place if they can. If they can. And I don't know if the Europeans even possess the mechanism. And there are a lot of people saying China, you see, and they had a news report, a book, not a book, a magazine. I believe it was it Newsweek? It wasn't Newsweek. It was another magazine, and it had Xi Jinping right behind Trump, right? Right behind Trump. And Trump's face was looking into and Xi Jinping was in the back, and it had the quote, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Nah, you have to understand this strategy can go both ways. It can go both ways. You can assume I'm making a mistake. Now that's the thing. See, I mean, you have to understand strategy. Even in playing chess, sometimes we put a piece out there to see if you're going to take it. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going in a whole nother direction. We'll put a piece out there for you to take it. You know what I'm saying? I used to, no little kitty, this is things that, my uncle used to show me when I was young. It ain't going to work on nobody who really know how to play serious chess, but for an average person or this 4-move checkmate and all of that. You put it out there and somebody fall for it. You know what I'm saying? You could get them in 4 moves. You put the piece out there and knowing they're going to take the piece, and you go on down there and put the king in checkmate. 4 moves and you got it. You see, and so sometimes, you know, it appears that you making the mistake. See, so it could go both ways. Now, if you know, the thing is, when people think you making the mistake, the NATO think the United States is making a mistake. The Chinese out there, they think they gonna you know, because it appears that Iran is going to seize total control over the Strait of Hormuz. That mean, wow, that mean, damn, China going to have a field day. You know what I'm saying? China and India, Iran is going to have a field day. They're going to just take over. You see, that's what they believe. That's what they believe. You see, but that could be flipped. Because the thing is, when you go all the way by yourself, you get all the spoils of war. You see, and when nobody don't want to ride with you, see, when they start, then when they see what's really going to happen, they're going to want to jump on board. You see, they're going to want to jump on board, but it's going to be too late by then. You see, it's going to be too late by then to jump on board. You see? And so, you know, and this is what you hear, you know, because a lot of people is parroting what they hear all for the news, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC, and all of this. They parroting, you know, because a lot of people just know this. They want to see Donald Trump fail. I'm not a supporter. I'm just telling you that they want to see him fail. So whatever he do, they're going to attack you. They're going to say, look at this dumb motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to say off top. Any which way he go. Because, you know, I just noticed it. And like, you know, and just showing you that that's how they do us as black people. Anything we do, they're going to only broadcast what we do wrong. Because they want us to look like we wrong. So when they get ready to do something to us, look at these niggas. You know, they always, you know, and even though you got, you know, family out here that's doing magnificent things, they never support that. They never put no damn you know, that'll be on 60 Minutes on Sunday when it don't even matter. You know, they're not gonna leave when you turn on the news. Murder, 5 murders over here, 4 murders. They're gonna leave with murder, mayhem, and death and destruction. So, you know, I noticed that when I was watching the news, they was upset that Donald Trump had made the threat against Iran. I don't give a damn. One way or another, I don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? Iran been saying death to America for the last 40 years. What does that mean? You see? They attack soft targets all the time. You worried? I ain't worried about that. That's all they attack is soft targets. What is the average civilian? They don't go and attack the military. They don't go and attack the damn police station. They go right down there to where people's is eating at the restaurants and shit, and go down there and blow up. You see? So what the hell I give a damn about what they doing over there and this, that, and the third. And so you just sit back and you watch and you strategize, because one day it could be you. And you see, if they'll do it to them, they'll do it to you if the situation calls for it to be you. And that's why we address this. And a lot of people, they so sad they can't see, you know, you got to always, you can't move so quickly. And you can't, you know, hesitate when you clear on something. You got to go on and make your move, because you could hesitate yourself into serious situations. But I noticed they, you know, when they was on his head about making the threat, and then when he didn't pull the trigger, they called him a taco. They, with Trump, always chickens out. So So I said, well, goddamn, what did y'all want him to do? Y'all actually, did y'all want him to bomb the nuclear facilities? Did y'all want it? And so they whole agenda, some of them, just like they got some for Trump. All they do is talk about Trump as if he's the Christ or something. You know what I'm saying? And he's like Adolf Hitler of the day. There's certain strategies, and people think because you see a strategy that you agree with he didn't invent the strategy. That's what's wrong with y'all. He didn't invent the strategy. When you see somebody practicing a strategy and you see and say, you know what, we should be doing that. We should be doing that. You don't necessarily agree with the policy, it's the strategy, putting tariffs on motherfuckers. I'm about that. Black people should be putting tariffs on anybody coming into their community, getting almost 100% of their economy out of their community. When you look how many cities, in black, predominantly black cities, and how many foreigners own the majority of the economy of that black community, they need to be putting tariffs on their ass, getting some of that money. Matter of fact, you should own all the businesses in your community. You don't see Orientals allowing black people to control 90% of their goddamn economy. You do not see Arabs allowing black people to own 90% of their economy. You see no other race. So when he applied tariffs on people, that's a good policy. That's a good strategy. You understand what I'm saying? For a people like us that we putting a tax on your ass, coming up in here, getting our money. And literally we need to move them out of here. When he was saying that if you don't open up businesses in the United States, employing Americans, that's a good policy. It is. That don't mean you agree with every fucking thing that he doing. He tried to erase what black people's now that we obviously see he's trying to erase us. He's trying to erase our history. So for anybody that I got on his ass, and I got a lot of videos where I get on his ass about shit where you can see it's white supremacy. So we're not saying he's doing it for us. Just because I say it's a good policy don't mean it's a policy that how he's applying the policy is good for us. If we apply the policy for our own strategy, for our own policies, it would be good for us also if we did that. Okay, so the thing is deportation, and I do believe that's a good policy. I do, because we need to deport a whole lot of people up out of our communities. They should be deported up out of our community. And if he's starting to deport illegals, if you're illegal, your ass need to go. Yeah, and that's gonna start our communities, clearing out some of the illegals out of our own community. I'm all right with that. But trying to erase our history, he tried, I heard they had taken down the Tuskegee Airmen out of the Pentagon. They want to take Black history out of, out of the schools, out of public institutions, the Smithsonian, all of that. Now, that ain't what I'm about. I'm not about that. You trying to erase the shit that you did to our people. You want to present this pristine white man and white woman that, so gracious and have done so much and for the world, which is a lie. So that part and understanding, we are totally against. We're not, supporting no white supremacy. That's not what we're doing. These policies, can be used by any people, and a lot of people have used these policies and strategy for the benefit of, their objective, their own personal objective. Most people should know that Donald Trump is for white supremacy. That's just what it is. He's trying to implement white supremacy on this planet. That's true indeed. And he has no place for black people other than at the lowest ranks of the army. That's what they fired tried to fire this head of the army just the other day because he continued to hire black people, black generals, and even women, generals, and they couldn't accept that. Now, I'm not personally for women being in the army per se myself, not because the army is for men, okay? The men. I don't believe women should be on no damn battlefield. You see what I'm saying? That's just what it is. Okay, men were built to fight and do all of that. That's what it's about. But today, with all of this, all the the understandings is turned all upside down, and you got everybody wanting to do what everybody else supposed to do and ain't, and so they want to be this, they want to be that, and that's why this shit the way it is, and it's gonna fall like that. But when everybody play the position that the cosmos has assigned to them, everything will fall back into place, you see. But we understand that as black people. They'll never understand that, and that's why you see many of their civilizations don't last but like 300-400 years. You see, they don't last that long. They implode on the same policies that's being applied right now, and they ain't learned yet. And they come right back in because it's in their nature to do and be that. They cannot do or be anything other than that. And so they still do not learn because it's in their nature, and it's hard for people to do something against their own nature. So that's how they know they curse, because they continue to do the very things that cause them to fail all the time. And that's why even in ancient history, they talk about, I believe it was, who was that? Was it Diodorus Siculus? He talks about Solon. Solon was a Greek, he was a philosopher. He was a philosopher who had went to Egypt during the time, I believe, I don't know if the Persians was in control, but he had an opportunity, or the Greeks, I don't know, it probably was the Greeks, not the Persian, but the Greeks. And he was able to talk to some Egyptian priests, and they told him, Solon, coming from Greece, he talked about how great the philosophers of Greece was, and how many great sciences that they invented. And the Egyptian priest checked the shit out of Solon. He say, "Oh Solon, the Greeks will always be children in the mysteries. You have no idea that is old. Everything, as soon as y'all get started, y'all collapse over and over." So that's what he said. That's what he meant by y'all have no ideals that is old. And so again, you see America, it's only been in serious power for 75 years as far as being the sole and already, 75 years ain't shit. Egypt was this lead nation in the world for 3,000. So 75 years, people look at 75 years and they say, wow. And already you're waning. Even when you think about Britain might have been in power for about a couple hundred, but that don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? 200 ain't nothing. That's a blink of an eye. That's a blink of an eye. And so, they continue to do the same things over and over and over. And that's why they fail over and over and over. But at the same time, understanding that you never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. If it is a mistake, it might not be a mistake. And so they're rolling the dice, NATO, China, India, all the adversaries, they hoping the United States fail over here in the Persian Gulf. They hope the United States, because a lot of people gonna move in, and like vultures, they're gonna take bits and pieces of power. You know, there's going to be a vacuum where a lot of people can come in and assume a greater power than they had before the United States made that mistake. Going over that, if it is a mistake. Now, if they come out the trick bag, and they do some things that I'm forewarning you that they might do, they're going to have more power. You know, and people talking about they wane, and they're going to roll the dice, and they're going to have more power than they had before they went into the Persian Gulf. Because they're going to end up having Venezuela. They're going to have the Persian Gulf. And if they comfortably take over the Persian Gulf, the only place they're going to have to worry about is China. The United States cannot afford to lose in the Persian Gulf. They just can't. To take a L and you ain't even fought China yet, that's disgraceful. That might be the dagger in your chest. That might be the dagger in your chest. If they take this L and they get pushed out of the Persian Gulf, if you can't fight India, how you gonna fight China? You know what I'm saying? How you gonna fight China? And that's gonna be another question. If your strategy is that naive that the Iranians can trick you into a defeat, and they come out more powerful than when they went in. They didn't have control over Hormuz before the United States started this. Now, if they end up with the control of the Strait of Hormuz, they have been catapulted into a major world power. They control the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf. How can the United States fight China? You see what I'm saying? Which is way more powerful than Iran. You see? So the United States cannot afford to take a loss in the goddamn Persian Gulf. They can't. So if they do, they might as well wrap it up. You might as well wrap it up. People not going, your soldiers not going to have confidence in going into no war with no damn China or no Russia. They not going to have confidence. So you're going to have to build some type of confidence in the military that, you know, they got leaders, and you find all the generals and all of that, man. Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. If he's making a mistake, you got to know he's making a mistake now. Because if he's not making a mistake and he's using deception to deceive you that he's making a mistake and he's leading you into the trap, he's going to end up with more power than he ever had before the confrontation. Y'all better wake up out there, family. All right, family, that's it for tonight. I appreciate y'all. Let me see. I might take a comment or two. See what they're doing out there. Yeah. All right, family, I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Support the general. Get in the chat. Click a link. Support the general. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Hit the like button. Make a comment, family. Tell me how you feel. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Boom. Black Power.